Good afternoon and welcome to our regular council meeting for September 16th, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. First item on the agenda, land acknowledgement. The town of Coaldale acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot peoples of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot peoples past, present, and future while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The town of Coaldale is also home to Métis District 1 Foothills. Agenda item 1.2, conflict of interest declaration, pecuniary and non-pecuniary. Are there any in the room this afternoon? Councillor Sailer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a conflict of interest with item 8.3, so I would like to remove myself from the conversation and the vote when that item comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 2.1, the regular council meeting agenda for September 16th, 2024. Are there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion that council adopt the regular council meeting agenda for September 16th, 2024 as presented? Councillor Pickering. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 3.1 under adoption of previous minutes. As part of your agenda package, you had the regular council meeting minutes from July 15th, 2024. Were there any errors or omissions in those meeting minutes? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion that council adopt the regular council meeting minutes from July 15th, 2024 as presented? Councillor Rees. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Also in your package, we had the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from September 3rd, 2024. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion that council adopt the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from September 3rd, 2024 as presented? Councillor Sailer makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Coming up at 5:05 p.m., we have a public hearing. So as Cameron Mills gets organized, I'm just going to quickly skip down to information items under agenda item 12.0. We have meeting minutes from SAEWA for April 26th, May 31st, June 28th, July 26th, May 10th, July 26th, and then we have the PAWS meeting minutes from July 10th and the Chinook Arch Library Board meeting minutes from August 1st and the Coaldale Public Library newsletter and calendar for September and October. And then under agenda item 12.10, we have the Gem of the West meeting minutes from June 5th. Did anybody find any questions that came out of reading those minutes on any of those? Deputy Mayor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any further, but I can make the motion to receive for information 12.1 through 12.10.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question on Deputy Mayor Chapman's motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving back to the public hearing under agenda item 5.1, I'm going to call the public hearing to order at 5:05 p.m. The intent of this public hearing is regarding agenda item 5.1, Land Use Bylaw Amendment 897-P-09-24, rezoning urban reserve to direct control. My name is Jack Van Rijn, and I will be chairing this public hearing. All questions and comments shall be directed through myself. Addressed to the chair will be Mayor Van Rijn. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider Land Use Bylaw Amendment 897-P-09-24, and the public hearing procedures will be as follows. Council is here to listen to the information presented and make a decision on a matter that is subject of this hearing. This is a formal hearing and not a debate. Everyone wishing to speak who has pre-registered will be given an opportunity to speak once to the matter as called upon myself as chair. Each presenter must state his or her full name, their address, and their interest in this matter, including whether they are in support or non-support. Individuals who do not identify themselves will not be given the opportunity to speak. Presenters are to stay within a 5-minute time limit on their presentation and are encouraged when speaking to keep the presentation to the point and refrain from restating points raised by previous speakers if possible. If new presentation materials are provided, you may be required to email a copy to our municipal clerk. At this time, I would like to ask our Director of Growth and Investment and Deputy CAO, Cameron Mills, to introduce the subject matter of this public hearing. Cameron, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. So the public hearing being held this evening is to consider Land Use Bylaw Amendment 897-P-0924, which is for the potential rezoning of 2008 14th Avenue from urban reserve to direct control. The proposal is for consideration of the use of a conversion of the use of an existing residence to accommodate a residential care facility. And I'll get into some of the discussion of what the difference between those uses is. So I'm going to provide, as part of my presentation during the public hearing, some of the information which is found in agenda item 7.2 of the bylaw, which is just the same bylaws attached to the public hearing. And I'm just going to provide, pull up the lot itself so we can take a look at it. So 2008 14th Avenue is currently zoned urban reserve. And as council is aware, the urban reserve zoning is typically what we would consider a placeholder zoning. So when lands are brought in from the county, through annexation, they typically apply for the urban reserve. They typically have the urban reserve zoning applied to them, and the idea is that these lands will eventually be rezoned to their sort of final or best urban use at the time of their further development. The idea of that zoning is to limit the development that could significantly impact the eventual redevelopment of those lands into a more comprehensively planned urban use. And in this instance, the lands in question are within the West Industrial Area Structure Plan area. And as such, the redevelopment of this property is likely to align with a more commercial or industrial use, most likely the expansion of the existing light industrial use to the north of the property, shown there as Lot 6, which surrounds this property, shown in hash marks, and that is the site of Live Electric. So the property has recently been purchased by those neighboring property owners, which is to say Live Electric. However, the home on the site is relatively new and in very good condition, and as such, there's no immediate need or economic incentive to see to its demolition. As such, it's reasonable to assume that some type of residential use will remain on the property for the near term. And a residential care facility is fundamentally a continuation of a residential type of use, with allowing for the possibility of conversion to a final use, which is to say a commercial or industrial use, when it is required for the expansion of the Live Electric site in the future. Administration's position is that this aligns well with the requirements of the area structure plan in terms of helping to achieve the long-term vision for the area outlined in that document. And by applying the direct control zoning, the establishment of a residential care facility can occur without the establishment of a more permanent residential zoning which thus helps to ensure the long-term establishment of the vision for the area structure plan once the economic conditions and relative age of the house would make sense. The applicant, who would be leasing the property from the new ownership, is a charitable organization providing care for youth in need of housing by the name of Closer to Home Community Services. Closer to Home provides a description of their mission and work on their website. Closer to Home Community Services facilitates growth and belonging in communities of meaningful relationships. Our integrity is grounded in evidence-based practice, authentically informed by and connected to diverse cultural wisdom. We journey with children and families to uncover strength, hope, and healing, creating new possibilities for a brighter future. Through the use of evidence-based practices and innovative solutions, Closer to Home strives to preserve, reunify, and build stronger families who can care for their children and contribute meaningfully in their community. Our family-centered, strength-based service ensures that children have stable, healthy, and safe living environments in which to grow and develop. And in some cases, when families are separated, we provide a place for children and youth to call home while offering therapeutic support with the ultimate goal of family reunification. Closer to Home has been awarded a contract by the provincial government to establish this type of use, as there are children in need within the region that require this type of care. Closer to Home views Coaldale as a great opportunity for these children, given its low crime rate, excellent schools, and wonderful community nature, aligning well with the best needs of these children. Within the Coaldale land use bylaw, a residential care facility is described as the use of a building or portion of a building as a facility for which social, physical, or mental care is provided to 5 or more persons who live full-time in the facility and have at least one staff person at the facility at all times. The residential character of the development shall be primary, with the occupants living together as a single housekeeping group and using cooking facilities shared in common. The proposal from Closer to Home is for a maximum of 6 children living at the home with an age cap of 12 years, except for in exceptional circumstances where a developmental issue such as autism might indicate that an older child would benefit from being raised among younger children. These 6 children would be cared for by 2 adults on site at all times. This is to say that 2 employees of Closer to Home are tasked with the care of the children at all times and will at all times be on site and working in such a manner as to ensure the care of both the children and the property. So during the evening, they will be awake in a supervisory capacity and not simply sleeping at the residence. From a planning perspective, the use listed is fundamentally in line with the residential use in terms of overall intensity. The difference between the proposal and a single-family home is very limited in the sense that there are 2 children, or 2 adults and 6 children living at the site. Traffic, noise characteristics of the use of the property, etc., align closely with common residential standards. There are no waivers required for the proposal, and ample off-street parking is available in excess of requirements. The home is sufficiently large to reasonably accommodate the use of, and the lot is very large for residential purposes. It's approximately 8 times the size of an average cottonwood lot. So it's very reasonable to assume that children will have ample room to run and play and engage in healthy activity we associate with childhood. Access to the site is from 14th Avenue and is suitable for the existing residential use, which generates largely similar traffic volumes to what is being proposed. There are no proposed changes to the building included in the application that would trigger the need for a development permit. Closer to Home initially applied to change the use of a home in the waterfront neighborhood to accommodate their requirements. This application went to the Municipal Planning Commission in August and was refused on the grounds that the proposal was not suitable for that neighborhood. At the hearing, the majority of waterfront residents were represented, expressing their belief that this type of facility was not appropriate near them. Reasons for this preference range from what administration would characterize as reasonable planning considerations, such as on-street parking requirements, to unreasonable considerations that the children will increase crime. Direction coming from the meeting was essentially that in order for the use to be attainable in Coaldale, a property in a less established area at the edge of town would be more appropriate. The property in question is on the edge of town. It has abundant parking, is well fenced, and has ample room for the kids to enjoy the outdoor space on site. Ownership of the property by the adjacent business, which is Live Electric, means that the use is unlikely to carry on indefinitely. Eventually, the business will expand, and at that time, the provider will need to find another property on which to operate. If the use does in fact generate negative externalities such as increased crime, then the owner is incentivized, since they are the neighbor most likely to be affected by that problem, to deal with the situation by altering or canceling the lease. From administration's perspective, the proposal works quite well in terms of meeting the needs that came out at the earlier MPC meeting. Coaldale is well known to be a community that is extremely safe, with a crime rate amongst the lowest in the country for a community of this size, and is an ideal community to provide these children with an opportunity to grow and thrive. The proposed operator is a licensed, reputable provider of care to children, and the proposed location is a result of a contract with South Region Children and Family Services, as the need for this type of care for children has been identified within our region. The applicant has provided a letter that they have attached to this report, and Council has access to that. And they'll also provide a presentation shortly to Council to describe their proposal. Notice of the proposal was circulated in line with requirements of the Municipal Government Act. At the time of the preparation of the report, administration was in receipt of one item of correspondence, which was prepared by an adjacent landowner following a conversation with town staff. That correspondence from Virginia Burse was attached to this report, and Council had opportunity to take a look at that prior to the meeting. With that, that would end administration's report on the matter. We're happy to answer any questions Council has at this time.
Thank you. Is there any questions from council for our presenter? We also have representatives from the applicant in attendance as well. Is there anything else you would wish to add to Cameron's comments? If you could just come up and sit down and turn the microphone on, please, and identify yourself for public record.
Is the microphone on? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair Mayor Van Rijn. I'm Erin O'Reilly. I'm the Director of In-Care Services with Closer to Home Community Services.
And I'm Candy Santerno. I'm the Senior Manager of In-Care Services with Closer to Home. Thank you for having us.
And we just have a brief presentation. Some of it Cameron has already covered very accurately. So we'll just try to hit the highlights and not drag this on too long. Just to tell you a bit about ourselves. So Closer to Home is a nonprofit charitable organization. We were established in 1995, and we provide over 45 programs addressing youth mental health, parenting skills, family homelessness, foster care, group care, Indigenous services, and supports for newcomers. And while we provide a really vast array of services and programs, we take a very personal approach with program leadership highly involved with the kids, staff, and communities that we're involved in.
So as Cameron mentioned, currently there is a gap in services in the South Region to provide safe and stable housing for children under the age of 12 years old. Given Closer to Home's extensive experience working with this younger age range, we've received a new contract for a 6-bed home in the South Region. And we know that moving children out of the region results in them feeling less connected to their natural supports, and it also increases the chance that they will not be reunified with their families. If we're able to keep children close to their natural supports and families, they'll have better outcomes and will be more successful later in life. So who we're proposing to serve will be children under the age of 12, so 7 to 12 years of age. As Cameron mentioned, we may have children over the age of 12, but they would have some neurodiversity issues such as autism, intellectual disabilities, or sensory processing differences. And this is because those children are too vulnerable to safely fit into the demographics of other group homes in the region who serve high-risk youth with addictions, gang involvement, or those children are not part of our contract, and we won't be serving them in the community. So just to tell you a little bit about the kids that we do serve, currently we have 29 children living in 5 homes in Calgary and area who are between the ages of 7 to 17. None of those children have addictions issues, are street entrenched, or have any gang affiliation. 21 of those 29 children attend regular schools, and the 8 that attend specialized schools have neurodiversity disabilities such as ADHD, Asperger's, or autism spectrum disorder. The average length of stay in community group care in our programs is 341 days, so there won't be a constant revolving door of children coming in and out, and the hope is to reunify with family or kin after discharge.
And just to speak a little bit about our experience, we have over 25 years of experience delivering these services, and we have a really strong reputation. As Candy mentioned, we currently have 4 homes in Calgary and 1 in Airdrie. All of those programs utilize the evidence-based teaching family model and ensure a trauma-informed approach for the kids to ensure safety, structure, and skill development. And that safety is for the community and for the kids and staff in our programs. And we're really active community members. So we don't just come to a community and access resources. We look to contribute back to the community by being engaged, doing little events, having barbecues, just giving back to the community so that the kids that we work with are learning those skills as well. And we're really well known for being responsive. It's not that nobody's ever had a concern, but when they have a concern, we respond, we're quick, and we come up with solutions with the community. And we're seen as collaborative and innovative with the work that we do.
And just to talk a little bit about the caregivers in the home, we know that when children come into care, it's one of the most stressful times in their lives and their families' lives. And so we want to make sure that the best people are giving them care day by day. So we do have a rigorous staff screening process. All staff are required to have a diploma or a degree in a related field or significant experience working with children. And they're required to submit a criminal record check, which includes a vulnerable sector search, a child intervention check, which is done through Child and Family Services, and ensures candidates have no history of ever placing a child at risk. Caregivers all have first aid training, have undergone a rigorous interview process, including a minimum of 2 professional reference checks, and they're required to submit a 5-year driver's abstract to ensure that they're safe drivers. And prior to providing care for children, on top of their degrees or diplomas, they're required to complete 40 hours of competency-based pre-service training in the teaching family model, followed by an additional 40 hours of Cornell University-developed therapeutic crisis intervention training, aimed at giving caregivers the tools to prevent issues before they arise, as well as foundations of caregiver support training developed through Child and Family Services. So in addition to full-time caregivers in the home, this program will have a program coordinator that will live in the area and work out of that home so that they can support training and support to all caregivers in the home and oversight of day-to-day operations of the home. There's also a program manager that will be in the home several times a week and a senior manager as well as clinician that will oversee all therapeutic oversight. Closer to Home also provides 24/7 on-call support by highly skilled on-call managers to respond and support caregivers by providing direction, debriefing, and giving on-site support as needed.
We know that safety for the children and communities is paramount, and we ensure that through our staffing ratios. So as Cameron mentioned, a minimum of 1 staff to 3 children. Those staffing ratios can increase if they're needed to ensure safety or ensure that child's needs are met. We have awake overnight staff, supervision in the home and in the community. So until we know that kids are going to be safe, we're driving them to school, we're walking them to school, we're making sure that when they're outside playing that they have that supervision. And we have to adhere to rigorous licensing, accreditation, and health and safety standards. And it's important to note just that over the last few years, we've really focused on staff training, support, and wellness so that we can impact that program's stability by retaining our staff who are doing really hard work. And we've had a significant increase in retention in community group care programs. We're currently at 84%, which is really significant for this sector. And then just thinking about community impact, we are committed to all of our homes fitting into community standards. We know that that's not only important for the community, but for the kids that we serve who deserve that as well. We have a maintenance team and contractors for yard upkeep and home maintenance, mandatory safe driving, respectful parking, and CTH leadership is available and responsive to community members 24/7. There's also concerns have come up in the past about the impact on property values that may not be as significant here, but there is research that indicates that group care in neighborhoods doesn't in the long term bring down property values. So we understand the concerns and fears that any community can have when they consider a community group care program in their neighborhood. And we want you to know that we chose Coaldale because it has the best of what a community can offer. Parents who model good values, neighbors that you can depend on. And in the end, these kids are why we're here. And it's true that it takes a community to raise strong, self-assured, and safe kids. So we're asking everybody in Coaldale to join us in walking with these kids from this region through the most difficult time of their lives. We're committed to being engaged. Anybody can have my number, Candy's number. We have community chats in some of our homes, so we have different ways to engage neighbors and respond and problem solve together. We do have a 2-minute video that we would love to share with you if that's okay. Thank you.
Like genuinely care, and I'm not just a number.
My best memory at the group home was probably when we got to travel to the States and go to Disneyland, because we got to see a whole bunch of things like Las Vegas, Seattle, Nevada, Oregon, the ocean, and just going to all the theme parks. And we made a lot of memories at that place.
Best memory would be conversations at the dinner table every time. And then the trips, definitely. So we still got to be kids for the most part, instead of having to grow up and take care of ourselves. People that wanted to help, wanted to care, wanted to love these kids no matter what. That we weren't projects that just needed to be fixed.
And when I came to Closer Home, they accepted me, they helped me, they made me the person I am today, and I'm very thankful for them. There was a lot of structure in the house. There was nightly routines, daily routines, morning routines. We always had a routine. Structure was a big thing for me. Without the structure, things would go bad. With the structure, I was able to succeed in school, succeed in the things I wanted to, and grow to be the person I am today. And just them in general, the people that work with Closer to Home, make you feel safe, they make you feel welcome, they make you feel at home. They welcomed me, they loved me, they cared for me. They never turned away when I needed their help. They were there for me 24/7. The way they acted, how they acted towards you, how they never gave up on you no matter what. If you were in trouble or you were hurt, they would always come to your side and help you work through the problem. No matter how big, no matter how small.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Just before you get up, I'll just ask members of council if they have any questions for either of the presenters. Deputy Mayor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor, and through to our presenters. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I think I also want to thank you for your consideration for Coaldale and choosing Coaldale as a place to establish this ideal and needed home for children. And as we know, we already have a location actually further up the road at Rehoboth Christian Ministries that services about 10 times the number of kids that you are considering to provide. So I guess my only question to you is that with the location that you're considering, and I appreciate what you're looking for here. Is it going to be a location that you'll be able to service and have your children protected? I know that 845 is sort of one of the concerns that comes up from time to time about homes, and there are lots of families living on that road. But at the same time, would your administrators be able to ensure the safety of your children?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So you're speaking of the highway that goes by that's in close proximity. So we will be working with Children and Family Services licensing to ensure safety. And one of the things that we will be doing is closing off the fence, because there is one small opening in that fence so that we can have a backyard where kids can play. And then we work with these kids like any parent would work with their kids, teaching them skills, teaching them safety, practicing those things with them. And so if we had a child who had more risky behaviors potentially related to traffic, then we would just have closer supervision for them and make sure that they're working more, learning those skills before they have access to that road. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from members of council? Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anybody in the gallery that wishes to speak on this matter? Last opportunity. Is there anybody in the gallery that wishes to speak on this matter? Thank you. I'll now ask council if they have sufficient information to make a decision on Land Use Bylaw Amendment 897-P-09-24. Thank you. I'll declare the public hearing over at 5:32 p.m. For anybody that's here specifically for this public hearing, you can either call the office tomorrow and they'll give you the answer of what came out of the meeting. It will be coming up further down on the agenda as well. If you're welcome to stick around for that. Moving on to bylaws and policies. Agenda item 7.1, Land Use Bylaw Amendment 896-P-09-24 regarding first reading. We have our Director of Growth and Investment and Deputy CAO Cameron Mills presenting. Cam, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. So what we have before council today is consideration for first reading of Land Use Bylaw Amendment 896-P-0924, which is proposing to rezone a property from R1A to R1C, which is to say a sort of standard larger lot residential to a smaller lot residential use. And we received the application on August 28th from a private landowner. The purpose of the application, as mentioned, is to rezone to R1C in order to accommodate subdivision of an existing lot into two smaller lots, and submitted a descriptive narrative was attached as part of the application. So the proposed redesignation generally aligns with residential growth objectives of the current town plan. Some of those are provided here. So the vision and guiding principles suggests an appreciation of the affordability of housing in Coaldale and interest in more variety of housing types to accommodate different needs. residential development policies specific to infill development policies, that we strive for a target of 10% of the new development within Coaldale to be built in existing areas, which identifies as areas of change in the municipal development plan. Infill development policy 2.3 also suggests they encourage the development of secondary suites and multi-unit dwellings where appropriate, and which is specific to a higher density type residential. However, noting the increased density of existing neighborhoods being the target for that policy. As required, once a public hearing is set by council, notice of the rezoning will be circulated to adjacent landowners, as well as advertised on the town's municipal engagement platform during the duration of the process in order for the community to provide feedback on the bylaw. At this time, council is respectfully requested to vote on first reading of the amendment and to direct administration to schedule a public hearing for a subsequent regular council meeting. I'm just going to quickly move down to show the map, which was attached as part of the circulation here. So we show the property is located along 23rd Avenue, has an existing house located on the property, and the proposal will allow for the creation of a smaller 38-foot wide lot to be made of the existing side yard, because the property itself is currently about approximately 70 feet wide in its existing state. And we will also note that the property along that street shown here, subdivision of these properties that were of this size into narrower lots has occurred relatively frequently. So you can see the properties next door, 14 and 15, being approximately combined the size of this existing property. The reason the rezoning requirement exists rather than simply going to subdivision has more to do with the placement of the existing house on the lot rather than any sort of requirement for rezoning to engage in this type of subdivision. So in order for the adjacent lot to be 38 feet wide, that's the requirement is there. Otherwise, most of these lots manage to subdivide while maintaining the R1A zoning, simply because this particular property has a house that is a little bit beyond the halfway point of the lot. So that's for council's consideration. With that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions council might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments for our presenter? Seeing none, could I get someone to entertain that, make a motion that council provide first reading of land use rezoning bylaw 896-P-09-24 and direct administration to schedule the public hearing for upcoming regular council meeting? Councillor Pickering makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Well, one more time, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Deputy Mayor Chapman is opposed. The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7.2 under bylaws and policies. We have land use bylaw amendment 897-P-09-24 regarding civic address 2008 14th Avenue to change from urban reserve to direct control. And again, we have our Director of Growth and Investment and Deputy CAO Cameron Mills presenting. And this was the subject matter of the public hearing we just had. Are there any further questions, comments for Cameron on agenda item 7.2? Seeing none. Just got to catch up here. So we have decision options that council provide first and second reading regarding this bylaw amendment, or we can provide first reading of the bylaw to rezone, or we can table the discussion. And we also have the option of considering all three readings providing we have unanimous consent. So I'm looking for direction from a member of council, Councillor Avery.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make first reading of bylaw 897-P-09-24.
There's a motion on the floor by Councillor Avery. Is there any further discussion regarding first reading? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Is there anyone that wishes to sponsor a second reading? Deputy Mayor Chapin makes a motion that council provide second reading of bylaw 897-09-24 to rezone civic address 2008 14th Ave from urban reserve to direct control as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Is there any appetite by anyone from council that council provide unanimous consent to hold all three readings in one meeting for bylaw 897-09-24 to rezone civic address 2008 14th Ave from urban reserve to direct control as presented? Councillor Beekman makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And finally, I need someone to sponsor that council provide third and final reading of bylaw 897-09-24 to rezone civic address 2008 14th Ave from urban reserve to direct control as presented. Councillor Avery makes that motion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if with the third reading, the way it's written in the recommendations, we also need direction from council to issue the permit as well, because this is a direct control zoning.
Yes, we can do that as a standalone.
Okay, excellent.
So I'll call the question on Councillor Avery's motion for third and final reading. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And then the final one that Cameron is looking for. If you could just read that one off for me, Cameron.
That would be that council direct administration to issue a permit for the establishment of residential care facility with conditions as deemed required.
Thank you. Anybody care to sponsor that one? Councillor Reese. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 7.3, Land Use Bylaw Amendment 898-P-09-24 regarding civic address 2105 8th Street. To change from urban reserve to institutional/recreational. And again, we have our Director of Growth and Investment and our Deputy CAO, Cameron Mills, presenting. Cam, whenever you're ready.
Yes. For the rezoning of 2105 8th Street from urban reserve to institutional recreational. The purpose of the application is to allow for the eventual subdivision of the parcel for the development of a senior care facility operated by the applicant, Beloved Care. So Beloved Care is a newly formed charitable organization seeking to establish a private Christian-focused senior care facility on lands directly east of the Coaldale Christian School, and specifically that part of the lands along the eastern and southern portion of the parcel along the canal. In order to do so, the land must first be rezoned to institutional recreational, and following rezoning, the land must be subdivided. The bylaw provided will rezone the entirety of the lot to the institutional recreational designation. At this time, the stated intention of the remainder of the lot is to consider some combination of expansion of the Coaldale Christian School, the potential establishment of a new church site, and the establishment of a sports field. None of these uses are anticipated to be sought in the near term. It is the establishment of the seniors care facility that is the driving force behind the application at this time. Details are provided in the attached application and a written statement but from the Beloved Care Charitable Organization, which was circulated to council as part of the agenda package. Following first reading of the circulation of the proposal will occur for a public hearing to be held in an upcoming meeting of council prior to consideration of second and third reading. At that time, Beloved Care will have an opportunity to present their plan in more detail to both council as well as the general public. Council is requested to provide first reading of bylaw 898-P-09-24 and to direct administration to schedule a public hearing at an upcoming meeting of council.
Thank you. I'll open it up to members of council for any questions, comments for our presenter. Thank you. Could I get someone to entertain sponsoring first reading of Land Use Bylaw Amendment 898-P-09-24 and direct administration to schedule a public hearing at an upcoming meeting of council? Councillor Reese has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn, and through to Cameron. I'll sponsor that motion as well, but my only question really quick for you, Cameron, is can you just show me on the map where the canal would fall?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me just... Okay, I'm going to... so, north is right, okay? So this is north here. Oh, can I turn this? I don't know if I can. I could probably turn it, hey? If only I knew how to... You know what? I'll just scroll down. Okay, here we go. This is easier. So the canal basically runs to the south of the property. And so here, block 1 is an existing acreage. And then everything to the north of there here is an existing, so a single parcel. To the east here is the mountain bike park. To the north is the dog park. And then we obviously have the campground over here. So the canal kind of runs back in behind here. And the idea being that in this sort of lower quadrant is where they would locate a building that would house, at full build out, I believe room for approximately 40 seniors, I believe is the proposal. The idea being that there would be an access to the west that would be shared between the eventual seniors care facility and the Coaldale Christian School. So the Beloved Care group is made up of largely of families that are affiliated with the school, but not necessarily all of the families associated with the school. So it's sort of a to a certain extent, sort of an offshoot of the same group that are interested in pursuing this use. So it's largely supported. So it's actually the school, I believe it's the school group. Well, is it the school group? It's the school group, I believe, that owns the property, and they're interested in selling this piece to the other group in order to pursue this use sort of jointly. So that's sort of the idea here. But yeah, largely speaking, the canal is going to be on the other side of this property line, just running in this direction here. Long answer to a short question. Sorry.
Show me as well where the dog park would be then on this.
These lots up here listed 1 through 8. That's the dog park / stormwater management facility.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Councillor Reese to provide first reading of Land Use Bylaw Amendment 898-P-09-24 and direct administration to schedule a public hearing at an upcoming meeting of council. Is there any further discussion on that item? Councillor Pickering.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn, through to Cam. So that is the outer limits of the annex of the town of Coaldale, correct? The canal?
Yes, to the south would be
south?
the county.
And
Yes.
will this property be, it'll be serviced then obviously by the town?
Mm-hmm.
For them
Correct.
to do this, is it serviced right now?
There would be services coming in. The services would be pulled in off of 8th Street. Is it 8th Street that's there? Yeah. So it's not currently serviced, but it's available.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Reese.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. I just have one more question, Cameron, just for some more clarification then. So you were saying that the facility would be kind of in that L area on that map.
Yeah.
So what would they do with that big piece of land in front of it? Would that be a parking lot?
Sorry, let me see here. So the piece like to the north,
Yeah.
you mean? It's all projected at this point. The idea being that, you know, the school might go on the western side, kind of over here. You might see sort of a road come in here that would service both. It would be a private road. So it would be like a driveway fundamentally that's shared between the two uses. And then the idea being that they would put some sort of sports field to the east, so maybe a soccer pitch, for example, that might also serve a stormwater management capacity in an emergency kind of event. Parking for the proposal would be built for the use itself would be, so if the building was sort of a U shape and there would be sort of parking in the middle with some landscaping. Seniors care facilities generally don't, given the number of rooms, the parking requirements for seniors care facilities are generally relatively minimal because most of the occupants don't drive. So I think the land use, I don't recall the exact number, but I think the land use bylaw calls for one stall for every 2 rooms or something to that effect. So there's ample opportunity for them to develop the required parking. You're very welcome.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question on Councillor Reese's motion. All those in favor? Carried. Peter, we're going to let you go home a little bit earlier today. We're going to get you to come up. So coming up on agenda item 4.1, delegation by appointment, we have Peter Casarella from South Row, the executive director. And Lana has something loaded up for you for that.
Sorry.
Then whenever you're ready, Peter, the floor is yours.
How much time would you like me to take today, Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry?
How much time would you like me to take today?
As much time as you need, within 15 minutes.
I'll just wait for Lana to queue up the presentation. My name is Peter Casarella. I think you all know me. I work for you along with 29 other communities in Southern Alberta here running the South Row Regional Initiative. I have a mandate from the board to appear before 40% of our members every year for in-person presentations, updating you on the affairs of the association and how the taxpayer money that's entrusted to us is being spent. So this is part of that program. I'm going to skip through a lot of the boilerplate because I've been in front of you quite a few times, and I'm under the impression you all know what South Row is about and the Regional Economic Development Alliance program. We're one of 9 organizations that covers about 90% of rural Alberta out of the major urban centers in the province. About 1 million people, give or take, are all part of Regional Economic Development Alliances across the province. And we're in our 20th year. We've done a lot of programs, started in 2004, to try to bring together communities to work on those projects that all of our communities haven't shared interest in, but none of them have the mandate to do themselves. And so that's kind of the area that we work in. And it's been a very interesting year. I'm going to specifically talk about the next slide, which is our current operational plan, and some various items here to just talk about what we're working on and what the future looks like and some of the challenges we might be facing right now. So the first thing to point out is that we have our regional training program running again this year. We're doing a series of lunch and learn webinars across the fall. There's 6 planned. The first one starts this week, and we have Andy Zillems from Travel Alberta coming online to talk to us on Wednesday at noon about opportunities within the tourism environment and how our communities can take advantage of that and how we can specifically support the businesses in our communities to take advantages of the programs. They have a very ambitious mandate to grow the share of the visitor economy in the province of Alberta, and they have various mechanisms available and support programs available to help people out with doing that. Next month, we've got somebody from Invest Alberta coming to really try and push how to do business with China in this very, very difficult time that we're in. So we're going to be pushing out that very specifically to our large manufacturers across the region to try to get interest in that, because it's changing out there. very drastically, and it's difficult to do business with China right now. There's a lot of nervous feet in the water, and hopefully Mr. Wang can demystify the process of how our large industrials here in southern Alberta keep doing business with their friends across the pond there. I want to also point out the Southern Alberta Investment and Trade Initiative. So we've spent about the last 3 years talking to the government extensively about policy. Since 2007, Southgro's been part of a partnership that's profiled renewable energy investments in Southern Alberta, and it's been one of our largest successes. We are drowning in renewable energy projects down here, and it has been the Wild West. And it was apparent a while ago that we had to change how we were doing things, or things were going to break. You can't ride a gold rush forever. Eventually things have to be regulated and done properly. And a lot of what we've been asking for has been done now. And so now we're in a new environment, and the mandate from the board has been, okay, go back out and pursue investment again within the new regulations and the new rules that are out there. So we're attempting to do that. I'm trying to put together a funding program for a mapping project where we basically take and map all of the various exclusions and regulations on the landscape for southern Alberta and clearly define zones of opportunity. This is heavily a county conversation, where our counties, the vast majority of them, do still want responsible development in this sector, because the linear tax assessment helps them pay for the continuation of the quality of life here in our region, where we just don't have any oil and gas. So that's what's going on with that front. The tourism collaboration is interesting. So there's no DMO representing Southern Alberta right now, aside from Tourism Lethbridge. And Tourism Lethbridge doesn't really have a mandate to operate outside the borders of the city of Lethbridge. They do it because they know that tourism is a regional opportunity, and the Southgro board has partnered with them for the past 3 years, putting in a token amount of money in order to help give them social license to reach outside the boundaries of the city. Lori Lickman, our vice chair from Vulcan County, is leading an inquiry with your communities right now, where she's looking at the appetite for the creation of a DMO, because Travel Alberta does have a mechanism for the creation of new DMOs. There's a lot of staff work to do on our end if we go down that path in building a strategic business plan and presenting it to all of our communities and getting buy-in. But there is funding available from Travel Alberta if we're able to jump through the hoops and cross those lines and create a regional DMO. Another thing to mention is we got accredited this year from the International Economic Development Council. We are the second organization in all of Alberta that has accreditation for economic development. Lori is down in Denver right now. She just received the accreditation plaque today on the stage, surrounded by delegates from all over the world. We continue to back the Highway 3 Twinning Development Association. So you'll know from Bill's involvement with that group that Southgro is the back end for their office. So their new staff member, Tennille, she can call upon me and my team to support her with anything she needs, because she's kind of just a one-person administrator, and we can provide her with a different additional capacity. And we support the organization financially. We covered the overlap of old staff and new staff this year with our contributions too. A couple of other things to mention. The Blackfoot Language Signage Project is entering its second year. This was an award-winning project, a partnership of different organizations, including Southgro, Community Futures, Tourism Lethbridge, and a couple of other organizations, where we funded Blackfoot place name and signage across the region. And the idea is not just to engage in reconciliation meaningfully with our fellow communities here in Southern Alberta, but to also paint a picture of the deep historical significance of the landscape that we call home, and to invite people to delve deeper into the stories, the tens of thousands of years of history that we enjoy right here in southern Alberta, and to, you know, kind of raise the profile of the stories that can be told on this land, and invite people to come in and explore deeper, because Indigenous tourism is a really big opportunity, along with all the other tourism product that we have available right here. I'm going to skip on to the next page. I'm happy to answer any questions of that, but I'm cognizant of the mayor's warning about 15 minutes here. So, this year's challenge, provincial government relations. It's no secret that we got a new minister 1 year after being told that, yep, you're central to our plans for rural economic development. We're going to carry on this 20-year relationship. And then we got a new minister who decided, nope, here's a 3-year notice, and then we're going to stop funding you. And that's a problem, because regional economic development in this province started as a provincial government initiative for how they could spend their dollars wisely by leveraging your dollars and local expertise. It's essentially was a provincial a provincial approach to doing economic development by getting your expertise and your dollars thrown into the pot too. And then we can go out and leverage that through nonprofits to get additional dollars to jack that money up. And we're having troubles getting through to this minister. So when you're at Alberta municipalities coming up here, or if you're going to RMA, these are important conversations to have. I'm fairly confident we'll get a new minister and the conversation will change again. It's been up and down for 20 years. And of course, regional elect dev capacity. One of the biggest challenges we're facing across the region, before the pandemic, there were 6 full-time economic development officers in South Crow, aside from me and my team. And today there's 2. There's 2 full-time dedicated economic development officers aside from us at South Crow. That's not counting the city people. We've lost capacity to do community level economic development. And some of the work we've done over the past couple of years have basically told the story. It might be off the side of somebody's desks in many communities like CAMS, for instance, but people by and large in a lot of our communities just aren't doing any economic development. They don't have the capacity, they don't have the knowledge, they don't know where to start. It remains a council priority, but they don't know where to go with it. And so the South Crow Board is exploring extensively how South Crow can work our way into that role. It's what our communities need. We do regional economic development, but we do have trained staff who know how to do community-based economic development. And if it makes sense for us to pool our resources together to do regional ECDEV, maybe it makes sense for us to pool our resources so everybody can have a bit of extra capacity to do community economic development, especially those smaller communities where there's just no capacity to do anything. I want to talk about some opportunities before I go. So when you look at Coaldale, Coaldale is doing things extremely right. You're booming, you've got a lot of energy, you've had a lot of investment. This is extremely good. So when I sit down and think, okay, well, what could I tell Cam that he could possibly do better? He's killing it. Good job. Some things that are areas of opportunity. Number one, there's a reason why we've had so many different educational opportunities over the past few years about community solar. If you're able to pull this off, and there is a grant again, I didn't think we would get another grant, but currently the FCM does have another grant opportunity available for community solar. To offset your energy costs makes an awful lot of sense, particularly in a place like Southern Alberta. And right now we have a brief window of opportunity in which you can de-risk that project. So check out the FCM's Green Municipal Fund or give me a call. Community energy management as well. I know you guys took a kick at the MEM program a couple of years ago, but it is open again for intakes. They want to directly fund a staff position in the administration. You can't use subcontractors for it because they're trying to institutionalize, the perspective of economizing your energy use within an administration. But that program is open and it does fund an awful lot of capacity, and it's only got a couple more months before it closes up again. So definitely worth exploring because you can save a lot. Tabor was the golden child of that program. Blake Krenak, in the first couple of years of the program, he saved the town of Tabor over $300,000 a year in energy costs. Now, not everybody can do that in a town that size, but it's an idea of what's possible. Many tens of thousands of dollars in savings. And they have additional grants to support the retrofits to community buildings. More money back in your pocket, better stewardship of taxpayer dollars, and more money you can spend on additional economic development projects. Obviously, one thing we're hearing a lot about too is transit up down to Highway 3. A lot of employers, labor is the #1 problem all the way up and down the corridor. Getting people out of the population center in Lethbridge should continue to be a priority for communities like Coaldale and Tabor and your counties who need to get people out of the population center to provide the labor sources up and down. So definitely something to look at. I put the grant support hotline up there because I continually profile it. Me and my team work with grants every single day. And so we've been pushing it out to all of our communities. If you just need advice, and not just your administration, your community groups. If they're calling you and your staff is overworked, we're available. Give them our number, pass them on to us. Your nonprofits, your community groups, your charities. If they're looking for a way to fund a project, you can send them our direction. And myself or Kim Welby or Emma Deering will sit down with them and we'll talk them through the grants that are out there, the environment, what it looks like, how they can stack things together and try to get a positive outcome for their grant approach. So we're available to help, and we're extra capacity in your pocket, in your conversation with community groups. And so the big opportunity to continue is placemaking and tourism product development. Coaldale's done a great job of creating a community where people want to live. And as we deal with labor problems, we need to continue to keep doing that, focusing on what builds a community where folks want to move and live and then you don't even have to worry about transit problems from the city out to Coaldale. Good job on everything you guys have done. I'm happy to answer questions on anything you saw up there or anything I didn't talk about. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Peter. Just back to helping nonprofits with their grant applications. Is there a charge for that?
No, sir. The board's provided that free service. We can't write the grant applications for them. We don't have that kind of capacity, but it's something we've always done. If you call up our office, spend a half hour, an hour on the phone with them, helping them through, and then shepherd them down the pathway, provide them introductions, etc.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to members of council. Any questions, comments? Councillor Pickering.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. Through to Peter. So you said that grant closes when again for the solar?
And so I don't know when the FCM's grant program closes. The FCM does get their funding from the federal government. And whenever we enter into uncertain electoral times, I start to get nervous about grants that I've had my eyes on. So.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for doing all the work you have done for us and your report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Chapman has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Peter, and congratulations to you on 20 years of fruitful service, and of course your accreditation for the international body for economic development. That's fantastic, and again, thank you so much for all your work on Highway 3. I know that that's really been a real impetus to getting us to where we're at, and of course we're focusing on the future with a number of priorities that we're going to redevelop. My question to you with regards to your focus on expanding Highway 3 transit, I'd be happy to have you maybe elaborate on that at a future time, even with our Handy Ride Association. I know that we just purchased a brand new bus. It's sitting in Calgary just waiting to be delivered here in the next few days or a week. So we just need to identify some opportunities for that unit, and of course, obviously we want to ensure that it's tied into Coaldale, but obviously there's some other needs that will be required from it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments for our presenter? Seeing none, thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you for employing me.
Always a pleasure having you come pay us a visit.
Appreciate it.
Could I get someone to make a motion that council receive the South Grow delegation as information? Councillor Pickering makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7.4 under bylaws and policies. We have borrowing bylaw 899-B-09-24 amended regarding the economic development rail spur. And we have our Chief Financial Officer and Deputy CAO Kyle Beauchamp presenting. Kyle, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Very good.
Okay, thanks and good evening, Council. So this bylaw does come as amendment from the previous debenture bylaw 884-B-12-23. So the quick backstory on this, when the borrowing bylaw was previously presented and passed by Council, we kind of used the generic template that we use for all of our borrowing bylaws. And the debt application for this circumstance is slightly unique. When we did go to market to fund and cost out this type of structure, our traditional lender, the Alberta Treasury Board, was not the most suitable or cost-effective option for the town of Coaldale. So with that, we did go to the banks, in which ATB Financial was approved by administration as the best fit for this. And in order for that boring to go through. We simply need to make some clerical amendments to the bylaw. Largely in point number 3 there, the changes are essentially removing Alberta Treasury Board and replacing with ATB Financial as the authorized financial institution. Now, in order for council to amend the bylaw in accordance with the MGA, excuse me, council does have to amend the bylaw as it was normally approved, which would normally entail 3 readings and advertisements, but section 63 of the MGA does allow for the removal of the advertising if it is essentially a clerical error, in which it doesn't substantially change the bylaw. So with that being said, we're presenting this amendment to council for all 3 readings tonight.
Thank you, Kyle. I'll open it up to members of council. Any questions? Councillor Pickering.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. Through to Kyle. I only have one question. It's where you've got your borrowing rate there. Is it at 7% or has that changed since the time this was looked at?
No, that's not the rate we're actually borrowing. It just, you have to specify in the bylaw what's the maximum.
Okay.
And so right now, I believe that loan is prime less quarter.
Oh, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Chapman had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through to Kyle. You made a comment about where you borrowed the money from, or are borrowing the money from. So does that need to be amended as well if the original bylaw was from Treasury, or and now we're going to ATB?
Yeah, so that amendment is largely what we're asking for, part of the bylaw, and that point number 3 there. So that would cover it off by adding ATB Financial and removing Alberta Treasury Board, which would be the government of Alberta.
Just maybe a further question to Councillor Pickering's question about the 7%. I had that question as well, and that's the best we're going to be able to do with today's rates.
Sorry, just to clarify, if you read the bylaw, it says the rate not exceeding 7%. So when council does pass a bylaw, you have to note the maximum term and the maximum interest rate that a municipality is allowed to borrow at. So those are the maximum rates that were previously in there. We're not looking to change them, but what we're currently able to borrow now is at prime less 0.25% for this debenture. So I believe prime it's changed so much. It's going down though, so it's better, not worse off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, could I get someone to entertain that council provide first reading of Economic Development Rail Spur Borrowing Bylaw 899-B-09-24 as amended? Councillor Pickering makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And does anybody care for second reading? Councillor Reese makes a motion to provide second reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And now I need someone to sponsor to provide unanimous consent to hold all 3 readings in one meeting for Economic Development Rail Spur Borrowing Bylaw 899-B-09-24 as amended. Deputy Mayor Chapman makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And finally, I need someone to sponsor a third reading. Councillor Sailer makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to new business agenda item 8.1. We have our 2023 annual report. And again, we have our Chief Financial Officer and Deputy CAO, Kyle Beauchamp, presenting. Kyle, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so the 2023 annual report, which we are presenting for council, you will recognize some of this as going back to the April 22nd meeting in which council did approve the audited financial statements. So this annual report is essentially taking our audited financial statements and putting in a package for the public that's a little more readable and highlights, goes beyond numbers and highlights in words describing the actual changes that occurred throughout the year. And I like to say, try and make the financial statements a little more easy to understand for anybody who's not as in depth in that area. One quick item I will point out. I won't go through this in detail, but I will be happy to answer any questions on it. So again, it does contain some information as to how your tax dollars or how the municipality's tax dollars are spent throughout the town of Coaldale. Again, largely, we have some detail displayed on here. And finally, this report is the one that we do present to our international governing body, the Government Finance Officers Association, for our Canadian Reporting Award. This is the award that we last received in 2022, in which we have submitted the 2023 report for the award as well. This report is currently live online at our website, available for anybody to view or download. And I'll happy to take any questions if there are any from council on this.
Thank you, Kyle. I'll open it up to members of council. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none. The only comment I have, Kyle, as far as a correction goes, the land acknowledgement has changed slightly. If you could get that changed, Lana can help you with that.
Sure. Yeah, I will. I'll talk to Tim and Lana to get that updated. Thank you.
Okay. And then your photo that you have on here, you look like you're 16 in there. So
thank you. Yes, that has been. You're not the first one to note that. So.
And also on behalf of council, if you could pass on to your team for once again doing an excellent job on getting this report out. And I also heard today that Tim turned a big 4-0 today, so wish him happy birthday on behalf of council as well. So once again, thank you for that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, and a big thanks to Tim. He largely put all the documents together and made it look good. So he was a big part in this as well.
Appreciate that. Seeing there's no further questions, comments, could I get someone to entertain making a motion that council receive the 2023 annual report for the town of Coaldale as information? Councillor Beekman makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 8.2, the SAEWA request for a letter of support. I just wanted to close the loop on that and bring that so that we could get a motion at the council table this evening. So is there any questions, comments about that letter? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion that council approve a letter of support to the Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association? Deputy Mayor Chapman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8.3, the combined membership option for Twisted Steel and the town of Coaldale regarding Shift Community Recreation Center. And we have our Community Services Operations Manager, Scott Boyd, presenting. Scott, is this the first time you ever presented to us?
This is, yes, thank you.
No pressure.
No
and we
pressure.
also have Russ Tanner joining. So whenever you're ready, Scott, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Thank you for the time to present the proposal for a combined monthly membership option between the town of Coaldale and the Twisted Steel Fitness Center within the Shift Community Recreation Center. This comprehensive membership package provides enhanced values to users, promotes greater utilization of recreation facilities, and strengthens community. If approved, we're looking at a fixed term pilot from October 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024, with careful evaluation to follow. The combined membership option would allow members to access both town-operated facilities or areas of the facility, such as the sport courts, field house, squash court, and track, and the Twisted Steel Fitness Center. The membership would be priced at $78.50 per month for adults and $63 per month for youth, teen, students, or seniors. The point of sale will be at the Town of Coaldale front desk. Again, the proposed start date for this will be October 1st. And should this membership option not be carried beyond December 31st, 2024, a full report will be presented to Council outlining the new proposed adjustments for your approval. The combined membership is designed to address community demand for more flexible and cost-effective fitness solutions, essentially another membership option that doesn't already exist. And to note, there isn't any membership items that are removed because of this. To get into the pricing, again, the proposed pricing is $78.50 for adults, $63 per month for youth, teens, students, or seniors. And that is derived from Town of Coaldale current 1 month membership is $42 for adults, $32 for senior, teens, and students. Twisted Steel is $60 for adults and $50 for senior, teens, and students. Those combined rates added together before the discount is $102 for adults and $83 for senior, teens, and students. With those current prices in mind, the reflective discounts for both Town and Twisted Steel, with careful talks with Twisted Steel, are the same at 23%. Get into the revenue sharing. From each side, Town of Coaldale revenue would be 40%, Twisted Steel at 60%. This is calculated from a combined rate without a discount at $102 divided by the combined rate with discounts for both adults and the other membership type memberships of seniors, teens, and students. The average of both membership types calculate to an even 60-40 split. So for example, an adult combined membership would generate a revenue of $31.40 for the town and $47.10 for Twisted Steel for the adult membership type. The membership management, again, we want to have an effective membership management, and the combined membership will require those coordinated efforts between the town and Twisted Steel. That point of sale, again, is at the rec center front desk. The Town of Coaldale will then administer those funds to the Twisted Steel on a monthly basis. These funds will be carefully reported in our rec desk system. The combined membership option offers a new revenue stream for both the town and Twisted Steel. By attracting members who might not otherwise have joined both entities, the combined membership could increase overall membership numbers for both. Ongoing discussions with Twisted Steel management have ensured that both parties are aligned with the terms and expectations, pricing, and operational logistics. Twisted Steel has expressed strong support for this initiative and is committed for joint promotional efforts. The community feedback has been positive around the idea of a combined membership option, and it has been one of the most frequently asked questions since opening the Shift Community Recreation Center. Today, the Council is presented with the following options. 1, approve the combined membership option. 2, modify the proposal. And 3, reject the proposal. The recommendation is that Council approve option 1, the combined membership model between the Town of Coaldale and Twisted Steel. I'm now happy to open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I'll open it up to members of council. Any questions, comments? Councillor Beekman.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Scott, on your presentation. Nice work. Just one question about the, so the pilot starts, or the pilot in theory would start October 1st. Some of us, when the rec center opened, bought term passes, 3 months, 6 month, 1 year. In situations like that, is there a opt-in option at that price for Twisted Steel, or is it not an option for those 3 months?
That's a good question, Councillor Beekman. I think in that case, if you bought a fixed term, let's say 6 months, we could look at the option of basically canceling that membership and moving to the desired membership, prorating that fee, if that makes sense.
Councillor Reese has a question.
Thank you, Mayor. Through to Scott. Thank you for your report. Very well done. I think it's a great idea for the combined membership. My question is, is there still the option if a person just wants to get the town side just to do the path or the walking track there?
Yes,
Yeah?
of course.
Okay.
Thank you. Great
Thank you.
question. Yeah.
Any further questions? Deputy Mayor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and welcome, Scott. Thank you so much for your presentation report. I'm speaking in favor of the option number one. My only question to you will be the review date, and I'm just wondering if you and your administration would be able to review that, and if there are any changes, you can just if you wouldn't mind just updating council. We're not looking for decisions, but we would be interested in hearing if there was any modifications or any changes that occurred during that time, and just to hear an update from you on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Chapman.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, as our presenter stated, we have three options. Option one, to approve the combined membership option. Number two, modify the proposal. Or number three, reject the proposal. Is there anybody willing to entertain one of those three? Councillor Avery.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion for option one.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to agenda item 8.4, the 2024 Community Event Calendar Working Group. We have Jonathan Wensbein, our Manager of Government Relations, presenting. John, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So the purpose of this staff report is to request that Council appoint 2 to 3 or more of its members to a 2024 Community Event Calendar. In October 2022, Council approved a community events calendar procedure whereby each September, 2 to 3 members or more of Council can form an ad hoc community events working group that will help administration finalize a draft calendar before it's presented to Council for final approval. This way, Council will have an opportunity to provide input into the scheduling, scope, and character of town events before administration begins planning their execution. So after over the past few weeks, administration has assembled a draft 2024-2025 community events calendar that, in keeping with previous calendars, serves to facilitate predictability by providing Council with a bird's eye view of what the remainder of 2024 and the entirety of 2025 holds in store for town-run or organized events. And so now that that draft has been completed, administration is requesting that Council appoint 2 to 3 or more of its members to this working group. Working with administration, these members of Council will help create a final draft of the calendar for approval at the October 28th regular Council meeting. And with that, I'll hand it over to Council for any questions.
Thank you, John. I'll open it up to any members of Council for any questions, comments. Deputy Mayor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And John, thank you so much, John, for bringing this forward. And I guess I have just 2 questions. Number one is, did we have anybody last year that we used for a committee for this?
Yes, both Councillor Reese and Mayor Jack Van Rijn were on the working group.
Okay.
Administration.
All right, thank you. Second to that, I thought originally that maybe because we're also involved, it might be just as helpful if all of Council were the committee. But I'm fine with 1 or 2 delegates if that's so the request. But at the same time, just looking through your calendar, I'm happy with the proposal as you're presenting. So unless there's some drastic changes, I don't have any issues with the calendar as you're proposing.
With that being said, for any members of council that want to put their name forward, we have to be cognizant of the fact that the meetings will be taking place during office hours to be respectful of our staff time. So I'll open it up for anybody that wants to be on this committee. I'll put my name forward again. Is there anybody else that would like to be on this working group? Sounds good. Okay, Councillor Reese put her name forward as well. Go ahead.
If you're meeting during staff hours, would it be in the morning or afternoon?
It'll be all over the map.
All over. Okay.
Okay, so we have Councillor Pickering.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one more question. So is there a good chance it'd be later in the afternoon, or is it going to be like it could be morning?
It'll be all over the map based on staff schedules.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? So we have Councillor Reese and myself to appointed to sit on the proposed 2023-2024 Community Events Calendar Working Group. And with that being said, if there's any specific functions, I don't think there's a problem if there's any member of council that wants to be part of that when we're doing the planning. But I think just to get us out of the gate here with this. Councillor Reese.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. So would it be possible to send out like an invite to everybody who can be there? Just because Councillor Pickering and Councillor Sailer, I'm just guessing that it seems like you guys are thinking about it, but based on the hours, you're not sure if you can make it. So would we be able to just send that out to them just in case?
For the event planning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a problem with that. Do you, John?
No, we can definitely accommodate that.
Okay, so when these event planning happening, we'll send out a calendar invite. Okay, good idea. Do we need a motion for that, John? We do. So need a motion to appoint Councillor Reese and Mayor Van Rijn to sit on the proposed 2023-2024 Community Events Calendar Working Group. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carry unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, John. Moving on to agenda item 9.1 under departmental reports regarding an update on growth and investment from January to June 2024. And again, we have our Director of Growth and Investment and Deputy CAO Cameron Mills presenting. Cam, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. So the intention of this report was actually to be twofold. First of all, to do some analysis of the development statistics that we typically try to take a look at once or twice a year with council. However, I'm still waiting for some of the statistics to come back from some of our comparable municipalities, so we don't have that available at this time. So we're going to come back at a future meeting of council with that information. We intended to provide a sort of a January to June update on building and construction, so I apologize for that. That being said, we do have this update on development construction. So development construction being within our engineering department, we basically are split into two streams. And so the development side is fundamentally this construction that's occurring that is not sort of town-led construction, but rather is developer-led construction. I want to provide council with a bit of an update on some of those projects. So first of all, thank you very much to Jason Siemens, who prepared this report. Jason has a very in-depth knowledge of all these workings, and he oversees all of these projects in construction. So beginning first with the West Industrial, the construction of the infrastructure to support the West Industrial Park within the West Industrial Area Structure Plan. Developer here is 845 Developments, and it's a project being led by Talbera International Technologies as the design consultant and Dennis Dirtworks Limited as the developer's prime contractor. The work consists of typical subdivision-related work, which includes earthworks, grading, stormwater management facility construction, which is to say a storm pond, deep utility servicing, roadworks, third-party utility servicing, which would include things like TELUS fiber optic networks and power and all the rest, surface restoration, as well as landscaping. Unique works include the 14th Avenue sanitary trunk capacity upgrades. So this is a very significant expansion of the town's sewer infrastructure. It also includes avenue water looping, the extension of 12th Avenue, which connects our existing industrial park across to the 845, which is very important for the town's continued industrial growth. And these work items provide benefit to the subdivision, but also deal with the town's broader infrastructure concerns. The 14th Avenue upgrades in particular form a part of a very high priority sanitary capacity and fire flow upgrade that's recommended as part of the town's infrastructure master plan. Work is being completed in coordination with the development of the new Cold site, as well as the Coaldale Industrial Rail construction project. Construction formally commenced on June 24th. Work to date complete includes site demolition and topsoil stripping. Earthwork and lot grading is near completion. The 14th Avenue sanitary trunk upgrades and water looping is also nearing completion. Sanitary pipe sizes range from 675 millimeter to 1,050 millimeter, and significant sanitary bypass pumping efforts were required in order to replace the existing trunk main along a similar alignment. Stormwater management facility excavation is largely complete. Some work remains, including a clay liner excavation and compaction, piped connection and pumping system installation. Deep utility installations, the extension of water, wastewater, and stormwater to service the development are nearing completion. Road work, including the intersection of 12th Avenue and 20th Street, where Highway 845 has commenced, but remains largely incomplete. Third-party utility servicing work remains. The road will come after. And site restoration and landscaping remains. The majority of this work is anticipated to be complete by year-end. Of course, this is somewhat weather-dependent. Some work, such as final grading, third-party utility servicing, and site restoration and landscaping will be complete in the spring/summer of 2025. Provide some photos of some of the work here. So the first, the topsoil stripping and site clearing. Second, the 14th Avenue sanitary bypass pumping connection, which is being built. The bypass pumping is shown in picture 3, and then as well as in number 4. This is a picture of the 1,050 millimeter sanitary pipe connection to a manhole that's being prepared near the lift station, as well as the 14th Avenue sanitary trunk replacement upgrade. We show some earthworks and lot grading, storm pond excavation at the bottom, as well as the 14th Avenue, again, sanitary trunk replacement upgrade being shown here, and some manhole being shown there, featured as well. We have a lot of pictures, so we're just going to cycle through really quick. Next, the very much a related project is the Coaldale Industrial Rail Project, which was initially conceptualized as part of the servicing of the new Cold facility. However, since the project's conception, the design has been optimized to allow for the rail to potentially service other lots and industries. The establishment of the industrial rail service in Coaldale provides the town, from our perspective, with a competitive advantage when looking to attract additional prospective industries, including the rapidly expanding agri-food industry. Work consists of excavation site grading, approximately 2.6 kilometers of CPKC mainline siding, as well as industrial lead track, road reconstruction, and site restoration and landscaping. The town's development staff are managing the project internally. Mike Spencer Geometrics is providing the town's design consultation specifically with respect to the rail design and construction, as that's their area of expertise. Dennis Dirtworks Limited was awarded construction following a competitive bidding process, and they're working with Iron Horse Railroad contractors with respect to the rail-specific work. Work is being completed in coordination, again, with the New Cold site development, who are also building a substantial amount of private track on their site to hold their business, as well as Phase 1 of the West Industrial Subdivision. list here the work that has been completed or commenced with construction of this particular project beginning in late August. General earthworks and grading has commenced, as well as demolitions, culvert crossing and stormwater utility installation, security fencing and site safeguards, rail-related work such as ballast and rail material work remains, and we're going to begin stockpiling significant amounts of those materials along some of the properties that the town purchased in order to allow for construction to commence on this project. And the CPKC siding work may not commence until construction agreements with CPKC are finalizing. So this is work that Jason and myself are actively engaging in with CPKC to deal with all of the agreements and paperwork associated with having sort of a joint piece of infrastructure between us and them. The majority of the work is anticipated again to be completed by the end of the year, again weather dependent. This project is critical to New Cold's operation, so New Cold, the town, and the contractor are working very closely to collaborate to achieve what is a very ambitious construction timeline, as council is aware. Pictures again, so just pictures. And then Malloy Landing, Phase 1A. So this is the first phase of the residential development located around the new school and recreation center. The developer in this case is Shift Real Estate Investments, and they are working with WSP as their design consultant. Dennis Dirtworks is their contractor for excavation, grading, utilities, and they're also using Groundbreakers Construction as the prime contractor for the roadworks. So lots of work being done there to coordinate amongst parties. Work consists of typical subdivision work, including earthwork and grading, stormwater management construction, deep utility servicing, roadworks, third-party utility servicing, surface restoration, as well as landscaping. And unique work includes the 16th Avenue utility and road extensions, which provide benefit to the subdivision while also addressing the existing town infrastructure concerns. Also, further phases will construct a key portion of the North Coaldale main water loop, which was again a project identified as part of the town's infrastructure master plan. Construction here began formally August 1st. Site demolition and topsoil stripping is complete. Earthworks and lot grading are nearly complete. 26th Street pathway is largely complete. The 16th Avenue lot services have been installed. Water and sanitary utility connection to 16th and 26th Street are complete. Stormwater management facility excavation is partly complete. However, some work remains, including the clay liner excavation compaction, pipe connections of both an inlet and outlet, as well as restoration and landscaping. Deep utility installations and road work within the area are largely incomplete, and third-party utility servicing and site restoration work remains. The developer is working quickly with the hopes of having fully serviced lots available by the end of the year. However, large portions of the work, such as final grading, 16th Avenue's extension, and the shallow utility servicing, site restoration, and landscaping will likely be completed in the spring and summer of 2025. Some of the construction pictures shown here, showing a 16th Avenue lot servicing installation, some of the excavation associated with that type of work, and showing some of the work that need to be done within the existing road in order to bring those utilities in. Showing some of the sanitary utility connections shown here, as well as the stormwater excavation as well, and finally the geotechnical testing associated with the lot fill. And we have on the left the constructed pathway that leads to the high school and rec center, and on the right showing that pathway along 26th Street. So with that, happy to answer any questions, with the important note that Jason, the technical expert on the file, is not here, and I will simply do my best. So,
thank you, Cameron. Any questions from council for our presenter? The only thing that I ask between yourself and our municipal clerk, like this, you got completed obviously today. If we could get that loaded up to iCompass,
yeah,
so that we can watch along, because I don't know about everybody else's eyesight, but that's hard to see on TV. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Chapman had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and through to Cam, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to a downloaded copy for myself as well. Absolutely. So I appreciate that, because I think those are some of the questions that get asked on the street, and so I can help with some of those answers. I think the most curious question that Coffee Row has, and that is with regards to the pathway across the railway tracks and of course across Highway 3. If there's an update on that, I would be interested to know if that's at its completed status now, or is there still some work yet to be done?
Absolutely fair question. So the way the work is split for us internally, so my department, the project becomes our project once it hits shifts real estate. So the project within the subdivision itself is being done by the developer, and so that's something Jason and I would oversee. The rest of the project is an internal project, so that's Dustin Yankee and the infrastructure department that would be best suited to answer that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Pickering.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn, through to Cam. So will 16th over to 30th be complete this year? I've had that asked to me.
It depends. It depends on the course of their construction and the weather and the rest of it. So if it isn't completed over the course of this year, it will be completed as part of the next construction phase. So it would be in the spring.
Okay, thank you.
And just to follow up to Councillor Pickering's question, my understanding is from the Bossard intersection, it'll be paved up to 16th Ave going into the school from the west side then, correct?
That is the intention to get there, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion that council receive the planning and development report as information? Councillor Pickering makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And then Cameron, one of my favorite ones that I like, one of your reports is when you do the permitting and construction value. When is that one going to be coming out?
So that was the intention today. I was waiting for the taper and backfalls information. Usually it happens quite quickly, so I was hopeful that I'd have it in time to present this evening, but I'm still waiting on some of that data, so likely next month.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the Southern Alberta Summer Games recap. We have our Summer Games coordinator, Mark McIntosh, presenting, along with Clayton Vargasy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. Before we get started, I do have a presentation on a recap of the Southern Alberta Summer Games. Before we start that, Clayton and I are just going to pass along a little commemorative medal for the occasion.
Rematch.
Yeah, rematch. All right, now we all look the part. Okay, so I have just a presentation. I'll start off with a bit of a synopsis of the Summer Games. So the Southern Alberta Summer Games, just some brief history to review. First started in 1970. The 2024 Games were the first hosted in its full form since the 50th anniversary, which was in 2019, Pincher Creek. The 2020 Games were meant to be hosted by Raymond, but unfortunately were canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we found ourselves hosting the 51st Southern Alberta Summer Games. And after a 4-year hiatus, it was interesting to it was a bit of an unknown on what to expect with registrations and just how it would play out. Our registration period went from May 6th and closed on June 9th. We did do an extension from the initial May 31st deadline. With that extension, we got at least another 500 athletes registered, so it was definitely worthwhile doing that. Special note, we did have the game's founder, Max Gibb. He attended the opening ceremonies and the sport panel. And in relation to Max Gibb, there is an award that's dedicated to him called the Max Gibb Award. And it is a once-in-a-lifetime award that's presented to individuals that have supported the games for at least 5 years. And congratulations to Russ Tanner, who is the Director of Recreation and Community Services here at the town of Coaldale. So congratulations to Russ. We hosted 20 sporting competitions within Coaldale and Lethbridge County. And 2024 marked the third time that Coaldale has hosted after 1984 and 1997. All right, so the official sports that we did, I won't go over all this in detail with all the venues because I have a later slide for that. We had our running events, and special thanks to the Coaldale 5K Family Fun Run, who was the presenting sponsor of that event. There was badminton, baseball, the 3-on-3 basketball, beach volleyball, which was presented by Porter Tanner Associates Incorporated, cribbage, darts, equestrian, esports, and thanks to Coaldale Chamber of Commerce for presenting that as a sponsor. Flag football. Flag football, we never had enough registrants to run it as a tournament, but we did still have enough to do a clinic and scrimmage. We gave out participation medals, but they weren't counted towards the medal totals for regions. Then we had golf, lacrosse, mini soccer, mountain biking, photography, pickleball, soccer, swimming, track and field, and weightlifting. In addition to the 20 sports, we also had extra activities and ceremonies. So I'd like to just touch on what we did outside of sports. We had the volunteer appreciation a week before the games, and that was presented by McCain. They wanted to support our volunteer portfolio. Then we had the chance of doing the grand opening for the Shift Community Recreation Center in combination with the opening ceremonies. And the opening ceremonies, I'd like to extend some thanks to the Kinsman Club of Coaldale for being the presenting sponsor for that. Then we had the Team Canada walking soccer match. And thank you for Deputy Mayor Chapman for suggesting the idea in the first place. We had the domesticated divas market each day throughout the games. We had our sports panel. There's a photo in the bottom right there, which was our Thursday evening event, which had 6 athletes from the region. Then we had a Canettes barbecue fundraiser at Kate Andrews High School. All of the proceeds went towards the Ronald McDonald House. And then on our Friday night, that was our big event at Stafford Lake Resort, and that was our multi-genre showdown concert at the resort, and that was presented by Dennis Dirtworks. We had on Saturday morning the food bank pancake breakfast, which was done by a donation to the Coaldale Food Bank. And then during the mountain biking event, we also had a DJ party set up there for the attendees. And also during the esports event, which was also the first time that esports has been included in these games, we had the chance for some kids to play Mario Kart versus Gusty the Gopher. So that was a good chance to get some kids playing against the Gopher mascot. I'm sure he was quite toasty by the end of that. And finally, we had our closing ceremonies on Saturday. All right, so with the 4-year gap, I thought it'd be appropriate to show the history of the games participants leading up to the pandemic and what we came out with registrations. So generally, prior to the pandemic, usually around the 2,000 mark for athletes. So we managed to get up to 1,783 athletes. So not bad considering there had been a 4-year hiatus in the games. Just a bit more detail on the registrants. So with the Southern Alberta Summer Games, you're able to register in up to 3 sports. I think a number of us in this room managed to compete in 3 sports, so thank you for that. not a whole lot of people do that. The majority only go for one sport and they focus on that. And the 2 sports and 3 sports is a smaller number, but for future games, I would advise, if we do it again, just really hammer down, like, yeah, you can do up to 3 different sports. Regional registration. So we were part of Lethbridge County. We had the 2nd largest group of athletes. City of Lethbridge was number 1. We had 395 registrants within Lethbridge County. The largest groups of registrants were mostly from our region. So Tabor being the 3rd county awarder up there as well, but County of Newell came in 4th with 148. Registrants per event, just a couple I want to showcase. If you're doing the Southern Alberta Summer Games, obviously the soccer events you get a lot of registrants through there. So mini soccer and soccer, both around that 300 mark. 3-on-3 basketball was a highlight, I would say, for our games. 139 participants in that, which was a good turnout. Our beach volleyball was, especially for our region, we had a lot of players in beach volleyball. Medal standings. So unfortunately, we did not win overall, but we did get 2nd. City of Lethbridge really took it with 1st place with, obviously you can see their gold medals there. We got 2nd place and Tabor came in 3rd place. Onto the facilities we use for the summer games. We use 15 facilities in total, and that includes the new Shift Community Recreation Center. The Coaldale Civic Square was the center of our results, and esports was here as well. Coaldale Sportsplex was our pickleball venue. We had the Coaldale Community Center for darts. Coaldale Senior Center was our cribbage. The quads housed our soccer events and our baseball. Coaldale Pool for our swimming. The Owl's Nest Campground, we used the mountain bike trails for our mountain biking event. And the curling rink we used for the pancake breakfast. Golf was located at Land O'Lakes. Kate Andrews and R.A. Baker were used for a couple sports. Both schools were used for our badminton events, and Kate Andrews was also used for our track and field events. Then we got Twisted Seal Fitness was the venue for our weightlifting events. And finally, we had Scott's Barn Equestrian for our equestrian, and Stafford Lake was the venue for both our concert and our beach volleyball. During the games, I had a couple volunteers going around doing surveys to try to get an idea of economic impact of the Southern Alberta Summer Games. So the method for this interview, I had a main volunteer, so thank you to Lana, who went to each of the venues and surveyed the populations. And then I had some groups at the quads as well that did the same. So it was 4 questions. First, asking what is your role with the summer games. The majority were spectators, with the 2nd place being athletes and competitors. Second question being, where did you travel from to attend the games? So the majority came from our area, Lethbridge County. 2nd, City of Lethbridge, and Tabor. So not surprising there, just the local regions were the highest numbers. Number 3 gets into how many nights that people expected to stay or stayed in the local area. The majority of people just commuted to events, so 90% did not stay overnight. And then from there, it just decreases. A couple people stayed a night or 2. And finally, for how they heard about the events, so word of mouth was by and large the largest reason that people had heard about the Southern Alberta Summer Games, with social media coming in 2nd place. During and after the games, I managed to talk to some local businesses about how they thought the games impacted their business. Coaldale PharmaSave estimated that they had a 10% increase in sales and customers during the games. Subway had increased business throughout the games. Coaldale Inn, they mentioned no noticeable increase in the hotel bookings, but an increase in restaurant guests. Coaldale Spirits and Wine, business as usual. Red Apple had increased store customers. A lot of people coming in asking for directions during the games. Coaldale Food Market had increased customers to both the store and bakery, increased sales in water, sport drinks, child snacks. Barbarito I managed to talk to as well. They had a noticeable increase during the 2 days, Friday and Saturday, I believe it was, but Friday in particular, they had a lot of customers coming in wearing their sports t-shirts. And then finally with Stafford Lake, I managed to talk to them. They are one of our preferred campgrounds. They did not see a noticeable increase in campsites booked. So given that economic impact takeaways that I came up with, largest number of registrants are coming from the local regions. So the majority of athletes did not stay overnight. They're most likely just commuting to the events each day. Lethbridge would have received the majority of overnight hotel stays, although Sandman's Signature was one of our preferred hotels, and they only had 12 rooms booked by athletes. So again, you're not making a ton of impact on accommodation. It's more your retail, restaurants that see a benefit from it. Restaurants, grocery, pharmacy all noticed increased business, but alcohol sales and bars, liquor stores likely did not see much of an increase due to the family-oriented nature of the games. The Shift Community Recreation Center, we definitely saw an influx of spectators and athletes there. The opening ceremonies were well attended. It was a great focus on the new center with the ribbon cutting event included on the first day as well. I received numerous compliments about the facility. Finally, 2024 was definitely an unknown with the Summer Games, with it being absent for 4 years. My advice to the next community that hosts it would just be let your businesses know as soon as possible, get them on board to help both advertise the games and also benefit from the games being in the community. All right, on to the budget for the Summer Games. So the total expenses for the games were about $102,000. This does include the games coordinator wages. In terms of funding, we had 21 monetary sponsors, and that came in with almost $60,000. And this ranged in different amounts from $200,000 to $15,000. We also had government transfers and grants for about $34,000 from Lethbridge County, and a good deal of this was also from the Southern Alberta Recreation Association. Registration revenue from athletes was about $6,000, and that would just be athletes in the Lethbridge County region. Also important to note is the in-kind sponsorship really helped with costs for the games. There was an estimated value of $27,000 in-kind support from sponsors. So that really helped a great deal in providing the sport equipment and venues, helped reduce costs a ton. Town of Coaldale seed money. So the initial seed money from the Town of Coaldale was anticipated to be $38,500. However, due to the immense support from monetary and in-kind sponsors, the actual total was $4,385. It is important to note, however, that there were additional contributions from the Town of Coaldale that are not included in the expenses listed. And this would include expenses like Parks and Rec staffing, administrative staffing, loss of facility rental bookings, the cost of field painting on 7 soccer fields and the running track, and then anything else. These additional costs should be considered regarding the contribution from the Town of Coaldale. On the right there, you can see all the different sponsors that supported our games. So yeah, huge thank you to our community and businesses for coming together and really making this event a huge success. All right, I would like to finish up by just saying thank you from coordinator to everyone involved with the Southern Alberta Summer Games. With this event like this, you can't do it without volunteers. So huge thank you to all of my volunteers, especially the sport chairs, metal chairs, medical chairs. They put in a ton of work to make their events successful. St. John's ambulance in there as well for first aid, because they really help make it a safe environment. Again, thank you to all the sponsors, both in kind and monetary. To all the athletes and spectators, coaches, officials, our panelists for the sport panel, and all our performers at the concerts and our bagpiper for the opening ceremonies. All of the venues we use and the hosts and everyone involved. Our vendors, our food trucks, our Divas markets. Lethbridge County for the support in just helping us host these games. Obviously to Town Coaldale staff and all the dignitaries that came to the opening ceremonies, and many actually competed in the games as well. Thank you to yourselves, Mayor and Council, for being champions for the games, and I think saw you at all the venues and had to compete in some basketball against a couple of you. Rematch incoming, maybe. And finally, thank you to the Southern Alberta Recreation Association, which is the governing body of the games, and to the 13 regions and all of the regional directors for each of those regions. It was great experience working with them and getting to know them. So thank you to all the regions, and for anyone that's not included in this, thank you very much for being involved with the Southern Alberta Summer Games here in Coaldale. I'd like to pass it over to Mayor and Council for any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Just before I open it up to members of council, can you confirm that 2025 Town of Tabor is going to be hosting?
I can't confirm that they're hosting because I did watch their town council meeting where they voted in favor of putting a bid in for the games. So the decision will come from the Southern Alberta Rec Association, and they'll choose. If Tabor's the only one that puts a bid in, there might be some other municipalities that put a bid in as well. So they've agreed to put in a bid. They're just not officially a host yet. So we'll wait to hear from Sarah for that.
And then there was some discussion about 2026 and 2027. There was some appetite by communities for that too.
Yeah, the big question was 2025. A lot of people wanted to see how our games went. There was always some municipalities in mind for 26 and 27. It was just at 25. So it's really, really good to see that there's some interest in making sure we don't have another gap. So.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to members of council. Questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor, and Mark and Clayton, of course. I want to thank you again for all your hard work behind the scenes. And for having to attend, or not having to, but attending a number of your meetings, prep meetings with our fire department, with health, with a number of our facilities to ensure that we did it right and that we had the right backups for any types of emergencies, all of that. I thought that was just brilliant. The support that I noted all the way from the mayor and council, all the way through to administration and staff was just above and beyond. And I really appreciate all the hard work that you put in, the late nights and everything. Two people I wanted to really give tribute to at this time, if I may, Mayor. One would be Max Gibb, and being the founder of the games, I was just really honored that he and Mayor and I were at a function 2 weeks ago where we met with him for a moment or two, and he was just so delighted to be here, and couldn't say enough about all that went on and the tribute that he was able to give for his award, but also for what we did as a community. And he was really pleased with all all the effort and all the work that went on to do that, and your panel here that he was able to participate in. And he'd like to touch base again with Mayor about some accolades for the community. One other person I wanted to pay tribute to is a person that I've always dreamt about and admired, and that's a person, Jean Lapointe. I keep this in my drawer mainly because she was really the big inspiration behind sport and in Coaldale, and her passion for this community in the 1970s, being on council and then being appointed as a rec coordinator for the town, going through two summer games, championing those games, really was one of the inspirations that I lived for, and she was really what set the bar in those days, and I just want to give tribute to Jean Lapointe at this point in time.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Chapman.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, so on behalf of council, Mark, awesome job to you and your team, community services. You had lots of people working in the background, but you were the leader and you did an awesome job. So thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, could I get someone to entertain a motion that council receive the Southern Alberta Summer Games recap as information? Councillor Sailer makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And that concludes the open portion. But just before we finish up, on behalf of council, I just wanted to extend our congratulations to Lana Anthony on earning the prestigious Master Municipal Clerk designation from the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. This outstanding achievement is a testament to Lana's dedication, expertise, and significant contributions to local government and our community. A municipal clerk plays a vital role in the efficient functioning of municipal government, serving as a trusted link between the council, chief administrative officer, and the public. Clerks ensure the smooth operation of council meetings, manage official records, and provide essential guidance on legislative and procedural matters. They are critical to keeping local government transparent, accountable, and responsive to communities' needs. The Master Municipal Clerk designation is awarded to municipal clerks who have met rigorous educational requirements and demonstrated a strong commitment to their professional growth and community betterment. Lana's dedication to lifelong learning and exceptional leadership has set her apart. Last week, I received an email from Lisa Garcia, Master Municipal Clerk and President of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. She expressed her pride in Lana's accomplishment and recognized her dedication and success within the International Institute of Municipal Clerks Education Department. With over 14,000 members worldwide, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks strives to enhance the professional development of municipal clerks. Lana's achievement reflects the high standards of excellence upheld by the organization. Coaldale is immensely proud to have Lana on our team, and we applaud her remarkable dedication and success. Congratulations, Lana. So the process took how long?
3 years working off the side of my desk of the different educational requirements that I needed to fulfill that. So it's been a bit.
You keep doing this, you're going to get a bigger nameplate on your desk. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So going into closed session, I'm going to need a motion at 7:12 p.m. and that in accordance with Section 197-4-B of the Municipal Government Act to discuss matters exempt from disclosure for items 13.1, subject to Section 24, advice from officials, items 13.2, subject to Section 16, business interests of a third party, subject to Section 17, and then personal privacy, and Section 25, economic and other interests of a public body. I need a motion at 7:12 p.m. Who cares to make that motion? Councillor Sailer makes that. We'll take a 10-minute break.